one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on our agenda is our recognition. We're going to ask Chief Turner at this time if he would please come and read the Peace Officers Memorial Day Proclamation.
Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and whereas the members of the Hanahan Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of our community, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement officers, and that law enforcement officers recognize their duty to serve the people of this community by protecting them against violence and disorder, and whereas the law enforcement officers of the Hanahan Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service.
Minnie Newman.
Of the City of Hanahan directs that all flags on city buildings be flown at half-staff on May 15, 2018, in recognition of Peace Officers Memorial Day and in memory of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty, and to honor those law enforcement officers presently servicing the community.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to declare May the 15th, 2018 as Peace Officer Memorial Day in the City of Hanahan?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay. Kim, will you call for the motion?
Councilmember Sally.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Chandler.
Aye.
Councilmember Owens.
Aye.
Mayor Newman.
Aye. And our flags will be flown at half-staff during this time. Now, under recognitions, too, I have a young man here. Eli Duffy, come up here. Everyone probably knows Eli because Eli has been the honorary mayor several times, but a little bird told me you were having a birthday. Saturday, right? What? How? Friday. And how old are you going to be? 8? Well, y'all, I think it's a wonderful time for us all to stand up and honor Eli for his birthday. You want to get Mommy up here with you? No, that's okay. Come on, Mommy. And we are going to sing happy birthday to Eli, because I know one day he's going to be the mayor of this city. So we're going to train him right now. Okay. Is everyone ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eli. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Thank you, Eli. And happy birthday, and have a good one. Next on our agenda is our Assistant Fire Chief is going to come and read the Emergency Medical Service Week proclamation.
Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical systems or teams whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishment of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week, now, therefore, I,
Minnie Newman, Mayor of the City of Hanahan, South Carolina, do hereby proclaim the week of May the 20th through the 26th of 2018 as Emergency Medical Service in the City of Hanahan, and we encourage everyone to take part in our observance. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the motion, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Chandler?
Aye.
I love the fact that the baby got in there and she said aye. She agreed too. I think that's wonderful. Okay, Mr. Cribb, you got the floor to please read the municipal clerk's proclamation.
If I can, I'd like to invite our city clerks up front. Ms. Rose Fillingame, Kim Peters, Heather Wilson. You can write down later. Callie Canarins, Chelsea Cox, and Miss Kathy Fessler. I'll read the proclamation and I'll say a few other words. Whereas the office of municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants and provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at all levels. Whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. The municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of municipal clerk throughout participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of their state, provinces, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore,
I, Minnie Newman, Mayor of the City of Hanahan, do recognize the week of May the 6th through May the 12th, 2018 as Municipal Clerks Week and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerks. You want to read their names again for me?
yes, Miss Rose Fillingame. There you go. Kim Peters, Heather Wilson, Callie Cornarins, Miss Chelsea Cox, and Miss Kathy Fessler. I want to say a few things about our clerks. I believe this is the first year we've done this, and they definitely have a tough gig. They're on the front lines, and in a lot of ways they have to know what goes on by everybody else behind them. They're not typically specialized. So that there's a lot of examples up here. You know, Miss Heather has to know about the athletic leagues and the summer camps and everything else, and Cappy's learning that she's got to know about building code and permits and tree removal and everything in between. Rose has been with us for how many years? And went from the court up to the police department and does a super job. Miss Kim has been with us 10 years? 10 years. And went from admin to she's now in the court. Heather, 5 years, and she's at the recreation department. Callie is it was a new position last year, public services clerk. You've been with us, came from the court to there. Miss Chelsea is our friendly face now in the lobby. We tried our best to put really good signs in the lobby so people would know where to go, and that didn't work. So now we have someone to answer the phone and direct traffic in the lobby and be a source of information, and she has to know about all the departments and other things throughout the city.
Yay!
And again, Miss Cappy is our newest clerk. Glad to have her. Retired from SE&G, correct? Hanahan resident, and works in buildings and codes. And there's I asked her yesterday how it was going. She said I must be doing well because Larry and Shane were out of the office and I was on my own for a little bit. But we wanted to thank them. They're on the front lines. We know it's a very, very difficult job. the department heads that are here today. I know we lean on each one of you heavily to be able to do what we do. So thank you.
You're not going to get by with that easy. That's right. Kim, lead the way.
I gotta take
Thank
notes.
you, always. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so do I have a motion now to declare May the 6th through May the 12th, 2018 as Municipal Clerks Week in the city of Hanahan?
I'll move that we declare May 6th through 12th as Municipal Clerks Week in the city of Hanahan.
Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Okay, Kim, call for the motion, please.
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next, Mr. Cribb, would you please join me in introducing the May the 2018 Employee of the Month? But before you do that, I have never had a man to tell me that I wasn't loud enough until David Canairn told me tonight that they could not hear me when I got down there. And he wanted to suit me up with a mic. And I said, no, thank you. I will sit here with my flip-flops on and y'all can do whatever you want. So that's what I'm doing.
You ready
You
to
got
employ
the
the month?
floor now, yeah.
Okay. I'll take care of David tomorrow.
Okay.
It's my pleasure to introduce our Employee of the Month. Ask Miss Kitty Farias to please come up front, and Scott, so she's not by herself. And I'm glad Mr. Cox is here tonight so he can hear a little bit of this. Kitty doesn't know this, but she's been nominated for Employee of the Month for like the last 5, 6, 7 months as we were anticipating getting the title to this government property. So each time we would have a department head meeting, they'd go, we nominate Kitty for Employee of the Month. And I'm like, we don't have the title yet. You know, we're not going to. She might stop working on it. But as you know, we said it a little while back, that 53-acre property we now have the title to at no cost to the city. Was born of, Councilman Cox had an idea one day. It used to be referred as the blast zone. Across the street were missile silos, and we just thought it was property that could never be developed. And Kevin's good at asking questions, so he went to the airbase and asked a lot of folks some questions, and we found out that this was a possibility. So then we handed it off to Councilman Sally to work with Senator Scott's office, and it got put in the National Defense Authorization Act. And then it bounced back and forth, and Kitty could really give you a great story, but from office to office to office. One thing we agreed to do early on was do all the surveys and studies and pay for that and handle that directly, so that was something that Kitty worked on. Because we already saw the other governmental process was slow enough that any of the things that we could do, we did. So every month, multiple times a month, we were constantly calling someone, whether it be San Antonio or, I mean, you name it, we were calling folks. But I'll read this real quick. On behalf of the Mayor, City Council, and the City of Hanahan, we would like to recognize you for going above and beyond your duties as the city's purchasing agent. You have diligently managed the procurement of a 53-acre park on Williams Lane for 2+ years. In the last 8 months alone, you have sent 64 correspondence to GSA, Joint Base Charleston, and to the National Park Service. That means this project has crossed your desk twice a week, every week during this time. You have been relentless in your endeavors to seeing this project succeed. Because of your persistent drive and desire to succeed, you have been chosen as the May 2018 Employee of the Month. As everyone in here knows, this is a really big deal for the city. And as long as it took us to get it, without the efforts of multiple people, we still wouldn't have it. So no matter how long you think it took, we had people constantly pressing on this thing. So at some point, there'll be a groundbreaking, right? And then there'll be a ribbon cutting, and there'll be kids playing on the field. And Kitty, I feel like that'll be a full year or two faster because of your efforts, and that's a big deal. We got soccer teams that play on the outfields of small softball fields. We got football teams with nowhere to practice. We got a lot of people that are going to benefit from this, so we want to thank you. All right? And you got a place to take your dog to go.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, Scott, are we chopped liver? You just,
I'm not gonna get you.
She's getting,
what, you still forgot?
she's getting yours.
Oh, you got Jeff, okay. David didn't know what he was getting into.
That's Kitty's favorite man, right there.
That's right. Mark only thought he was the number one, right? Yeah. Okay, Mr. Cribb.
All right, at this time, I'm going to announce the Citizen of the Month, and we'd like Miss Charlotte Proper to please come forward. You got the fringe here? Can we invite all You're okay by yourself? All right. Well, I'll read
We
this
want
in
you,
a second,
Charlotte.
but Miss Charlotte, she really cares about this entire community and her community. And not just verbally and having ideas about to do stuff, but she's actually out there doing it quite a bit. We had our last staff meeting, and the department heads got together, and we were thinking about Employee of the Month, and they were like, what about the lady that was out there way down the ditch line, you know, all by herself filling up bags of stuff? And I said, well, yeah, she was out there doing that day, but she doesn't wait for the cleanup day to do that. She does it often. And in fact, you called me, what, less than a week later saying, hey, we got some more trash back in the ditch and we need to clean it up. So Miss Charlotte is a resident that's been really influential in the Charleston Farms community. She lets us know about issues over there, and hopefully we are responsive and taking care of things in a timely manner, because that's what we need. We're definitely a partner in that. But you came to mind immediately for Citizen of the Month. We appreciate your efforts, and we appreciate you letting us know when things aren't happening fast enough sometimes, and how you go about doing that. We know you're really involved in the city. We see you playing pickleball and coming and going and fully invested, but we appreciate what you're doing in that community. That community looks in large part like it does because of your efforts. The City of Hanahan would like to recognize Charlotte Proper as Citizen of the Month for May 2018. We thank you for sharing your time to help clean up and beautify Hanahan. Awarded this 8th day of May 2018.
Thank you. Thank you. All the work you do. Thank you. Next on our agenda is citizens' comments. The meeting is now open for the citizens' comments. This is regarding agenda items only. So if you wish to address the council, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Okay, if there's being none, then this segment of the council is closed. Under our consent agenda items are adopted with a single motion, a second, and a vote unless a request for removal is heard from a council member. Items on the May the 8th, 2018 consent agenda are approval of the minutes from the April the 10th, 2018 City Council meeting, approval of the minutes from the April 14th, 2018 Council retreat, and that word is being used too much there as a retreat. How about planning?
Workshop.
It was not a retreat. Okay, so now, do I have a motion to approve May the 8th, 2018 consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, Kim, will you call for the motion, please?
Councilmember Sally.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Chandler.
Aye.
Aye. Next, under new business, we would like to welcome Bill Carpenter. He's with Rosin, McLaurin, and Gibbons. Bill, will you give us your 2016-2017 audit report?
Be glad to. It's a pleasure to see you all again. Passed out a draft of the audit report. Unfortunately, we haven't completed everything yet. It's been the perfect storm this year. Delay after delay. Tax season hit, and we're in the process of getting it done. Hopefully within the next week or two, we'll have everything wrapped up. The number crunching is pretty well done, and that's what you have before you. I just pulled out several pages, and I'll be glad to answer any of the questions that you might have. I do have a brief PowerPoint similar to what we have done in the past, and I think David's going to help me with that. Like I said, I didn't give the audit report here because it's still in draft form. I'll follow up with that, and again, hopefully be meeting with Johnny and Christy in the next week, the week and a half, finalizing everything, and we'll get the draft to you in bound form as soon as we can. Again, just a few highlights. This is the third year of GASB statement number 68 regarding pension liabilities. That is we talked about that the last couple years. That's still a big number that's required to be put on your financial statements. $8.4 million this year. It increased by well over $1 million between this year and last year. And as in prior years, there really are two sets of financial statements with what you have. Pages 4 and 5 are what we call government-wide financial statements. There's like a full-blown entity, like a business entity, has all the assets, all the debt, basically encompasses everything as a whole. It's on a full accrual basis of accounting, and then there's a second set of financials that start on page 6 and run through page 12. I think you have all of those pages in there with some of the details behind. That's more on a cash in, cash out basis, more of a modified cash basis. It doesn't have the capital assets, the fire stations and police cars and recreational fields and things like that, nor does it have any of the debt, the GO bonds or the capital leases or accrued vacation. And because there are two sets of financial statements, there's also some reconciliations between those two sets of financial statements. Again, I'll be glad to go over any of that with you. If you have questions, feel free to stop me or give me a call, and I can probably bore you to tears on some of that stuff. David, if you would go ahead and go to the next one. The next one is just, again, this pension liability, net pension liability. It's basically a conglomeration of a bunch of estimates thrown together at the state level for the state retirement system and the police officers' retirement system, and then the city of Hanahan has to take a proportionate share of that unfunded debt and put it on your books. Again, we can talk theory.
Why is it going up $1 million?
Because the state liability went up.
But, I mean, I don't know what that percentage is, 15% it went up from last year to this year. I get that it's a hypothetical number, but is it going to continue to rise at that rate, do you think?
I would hope not, but unfortunately it's
just what it is.
It is what it is. The state provides all that. The state retirement system has to make all these convoluted calculations based on.
But did they go Did they go in the whole 15% deeper?
Yes, David, if you could go to the next slide, I'll give. I don't know if you can even see that. But the far left column, the 21 million. Sorry, that's 21 billion. Sorry, 21,359,000,000. That's the whole South Carolina retirement debt, unfunded liability. And and it went from 19 million to 21 million just in the course of 1 year. So because that increased, your proportionate share also increased, from 2 million, almost 3 million to about 3.5 million just on the state retirement system. And then in the green is the police officer's retirement system. It's the same proportionate type thing. That one didn't increase quite as much. It went from 2.1 billion to 2.5 billion on a statewide, and your portion went from 4.1 to about 4.9 million. Again, it's one of those things that's calculated at a given date. If the end of the world had happened, that's how much they would be short. In theory, at least, they're addressing these issues, so hopefully they can start whittling down some of those unfunded liabilities, and hopefully those numbers will come down in the future. The good news is the city doesn't have to pay anything into that at this point, and there's no retirees that aren't getting paid that have already retired. Again, I think worst case scenario, if Armageddon happened, we would be short by that much. I don't know how they would make up that cash, but hopefully we won't have to ever worry about that. Hopefully there'll be enough people to keep paying in, to keep paying those that are retiring. It's very convoluted and very subjective. It's just based on retirement age, life expectancies, all sorts, about a dozen variables, and an actuary has to do all that stuff. So way beyond my pay grade. I just have to pull the numbers out and put them on your audit, unfortunately. But that's such a big number, it impacts your financials pretty substantially, at least on the government-wide statement. It's not on the second set of financials, but it is on the government-wide statement. The next slide it corresponds with page 4 in the draft that I gave you. Just again, a summary of what we call statement of net position, basically the balance sheet on a government-wide basis. You can see the comparative between 2016 and 2017. Overall, total assets went from 28 million to about 30 million. You guys had a really good year as far as the bottom line goes, and pretty substantial amount of cash in the bank which is good because I understand you have some pretty big plans for some of that with parks and so forth, and some construction projects. The bottom line, if you look at the highlighted yellow down on the bottom, that's really the equity of the city on an overall basis. The far right column, the $18,950,000. Take the assets minus all the liabilities, that's essentially what's left. And that sounds like a big number. It is a fairly big number, but a lot of that is in capital assets, buildings and fire trucks and police cars and things like that. So, and some of the other stuff is spoken for, so you have to set money aside for specific things, for capital projects and that sort of thing. Roughly, you have about 1.4 million in usable fund equity, if you will, again on a government-wide basis. Jumping over now to the P&L on the next slide corresponds with, this is just the general fund on page 7 of the audit draft that I gave you. Again, it's a comparative of the prior year revenues and expenditures compared to June 30, 17. It had pretty substantial increases in a few areas, and especially in the revenue, primarily in property taxes and the local option sales taxes, and the license and permits. Just about every revenue line increased year over year, but those three in particular were pretty substantial. The property taxes, I think, primarily had to do with assessed values. The growth, the economy's doing well. That had a pretty significant impact there. The same thing for the local option sales tax. The better the economy is, the more you get that share of the 1% fund, 1% of what people are spending for sales tax. And overall increase, total revenues from 9.2 million to about 10.5 million. 13.7% increase year over year, again, on an overall revenues increase. At the same time, you actually, while your expenditures increased, they didn't increase as significantly, only 7.2%. Probably the biggest portion there had to do with the 911 enhancements and the new system and some new software and things like that. That was about $300,000 or so, if I'm not mistaken. The bottom line, again, if you look at the highlighted yellow number on the bottom, that's the excess revenues over expenditures, 1.4 million. Again, it's a tremendous year, especially comparatively, 768,000 the year before. Again, the majority of that being from increased revenues year over year, while the expenditures stayed relatively constant. The next slide gives you, again, page 7 for just the capital projects fund. And again, the capital projects fund had an excess of revenue over expenditures, primarily there because of grant revenues. Even though you didn't get them at June 30, grants are typically matched up. You spend the money on a reimbursement grant, even though you didn't get money till the following year. You show a receivable and match up the revenue and the income. Excuse me, the revenue and the expenditures. So again, a pretty routine year, but better year in 2017 than 2016. Slide. Again, these are just highlights. I think I've already done most of these. I have not hit the cash balances, though. Again, increase of cash balances by almost 2.2 million from June 30, 16 to June 30, 17. Just a tremendous year. And that's despite paying some capital costs, a couple $100,000, $220,000 in capital costs, and another $170,000 in new vehicles. So again, I think that speaks well of the management. It helps to have the extra revenues. It's usually budgeted pretty conservatively. I think the rest of that we hit mostly. 911 revenues did increase, but a lot of those, even though you did the 911 enhancements, a good portion of that is reimbursable from the state, and that increased as well. Let's see. We could go to the budget versus actual, the general comparison. I think that's the next one, David. Yes, thank you. This corresponds with page 9. I think this is one of Johnny's favorite schedules, the budget versus actual, and it really does show, this is a summary. You can see the total revenues were budgeted right at $9 million. You actually brought in about $10.5 million. Again, I think it's budgeted very conservatively, which is good. But it provided almost $1.5 million extra revenue that you hadn't planned on. So you're better off by $1.5 million just on the revenue side than you planned to be. Very similarly, the expenditures, you budgeted $9.5 million, you only spent $9.1 million. So you had some savings there of about $370,000. A lot of that, probably the majority of that, is unfunded salary and fringe. Kind of tough to keep everybody fully employed, especially with the economy in Charleston. So the bottom line, if you take the $1,483,000 plus the $370,000 savings and expenditures, you actually $1,853,000 better than you planned to be. You actually budget a little bit of a deficit, and you were $1,004,000 to the good. So you add those two together. Again, a tremendous year. I think it speaks volumes of holding the line on cost and management style, but also going after some of those revenues. I know you did a lot of grant work in this June 30, 17, as well as 2018. We'll see a good bit more of that coming through, I believe. The next page is just a little bit more in detail, specific line items if you want to see those. Again, the property taxes was up. Just about every line item was up. The 911 revenues were a little bit under budget, but they still were higher than the prior year. And virtually every other category, revenues exceeded what you had budgeted. And there were, the bottom half of that, the general government, the different departments, just about in every year you had cost savings in just virtually all of those. And again, most of those were from salary and fringe. Just to summarize, again, I think at June 30th, 2017, you're in excellent financial condition. Not quite as good as you had the prior year, but still, $1.4 million is nothing to sneeze at. That's really good. Again, because of keeps taxes down, you don't have to worry about raising taxes, and it gives you funding to do those kinds of projects for the citizens that are necessary or that are desired. I think that's pretty much everything. I do want to thank Christy and Johnny and their staff for the help with this. Again, scheduling sometimes between our firm and we're a small firm and we just kind of have to fit things in sometimes, but appreciate your patience. There are some required communications that I'm supposed to let you know about. If we have any disagreements or any proposed adjustments that they don't want to take care of or don't want to post, we, of course, had nothing like that. They're a pleasure to work with. Some of the other required communications we have not gotten to yet, and that's what I'll do. I'll bring that back before you if you're interested once I meet with Johnny and Christy. Again, we were writing the report as of about 9 o'clock this morning, trying to get the finishing touches. Johnny called me this afternoon and said, "You still going to be able to get this thing here?" So it was hot off the presses. Appreciate, again, the patience there. But I'll follow up with them and get those squared away, and I'll either send you a letter or come back to meet with you guys, whatever your preference is.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bill.
Absolutely. Any questions you might have?
After we read it.
Okay. It's good sleeping material.
That's right, good sleeping material. Okay, thank you so very much. Mr. Cribb, will you please explain the RFQ recommendation for the design and construction management for the recreation complex off of Williams Lane?
Yeah, in preparation for the 53-acre parcel, we put out a request for qualifications for professional services to actually design and do construction management and bid process for the new park. As you know, with receiving title to this property, we're supposed to begin a project within 1 year of receiving it. So we actually started that process in anticipation of it. So we had a lot of applicants turn in a packet. We actually had 8, and they're listed in your council packet. We had a team of 4 people on staff, interviewed the different design professionals, and our recommendation to council is to award the bid to Seaman Whitesides and Associates for design, construction management, and also the bid process for the new 53-acre park.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to award Seaman Whiteside as the design construction management for the 53-acre recreation complex off of Williams Lane?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Johnny, one question, when they go to do this, are they going to consider possible joint uses with so we can vote Berkeley County School District about that? That was discussed at one time.
Yeah, it's probably, I've been talking with folks from the school district. I'm not entirely up on their finances, but they're trying to get things in order. I didn't get the read that they're up to talking about building recreation facilities right now, or we know our schools need them. We have a tiny high school campus for a high school, and our teams don't have somewhere to go. So that's a conversation we can still have. Once we contract with Seaman and Whiteside Associates, we'll get public input, we'll get council's input, we can have meetings with the school district. There's a lot of things we can do. If they have a need, we'd certainly like to leverage the property that we have at no cost, whether they want to build a tennis court or something like that. If they anticipate a need and also usage, we would, it'd be nice to partner. We already know we're going to be able to partner on parking and such, so whenever they have meet the teacher and PTA open house and all that stuff, between the school site and our site, plenty of room to park, and if we do a major event out there in the future on the recreation parcel, it's going to be an added benefit that we have a school next door. So leveraging the taxpayers' funds to accomplish those kinds of things is already going to happen at minimum with that. And public meetings in the school, stuff like that for the public. And then, obviously, whatever we do with our park. But right now, we're just picking the design professional. We still need to get public input, staff input, council input. We can talk to the school district, and then ultimately, these professionals will match all that stuff up within our budget. But we're, again, we should be in really good shape. We'll get the land for free. There's a neighboring jurisdiction that got a similar amount of land and had to pay quite a bit of money for it. So we're in great shape getting this property for free. And also with the sale of the first 21-acre parcel we have, and some of the impact fees and the other parcel we have, I think conservatively we have this thing 75% paid for, full build out. So we put ourselves in a tremendous position to be able to move forward. And instead of having a phase 1-2 project out there, maybe we have just a phase 1 project, and we get the full benefit of this project early on. But yeah, we'll have all of those conversations. We're also next to a school, so if there's any way it can be a phase 1 project versus a 1 and 2, and you know our recommendation will be whatever is fiscally responsible, not what just our desires are. Our current 52-acre recreation park was built over decades. It wasn't built in one phase. And anybody who's been here has known that Field 6 and 7 used to be where you went to go get pine straw. And the amphitheater was just a walk in the woods down to the water line, and senior center wasn't there. So those things came incrementally, and potentially that's what this facility will be as well. But I think we've planned really well, been fortunate with some of the things that have happened. So we put ourselves in a really good position to get the full benefit of at minimum a large portion of this park in phase 1.
Thank you, Johnny. Do I have a motion, call for the motion, Kim?
Councilmember Sally.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Clayton.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have reports and comments. First of all, the citizens' comment. The meeting is now open. If you would like to address the council, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Mr. Hartman?
John Hartness, 1036 Dominion Drive. What I wanted to comment on is the citizens' comments. Y'all change this to the front of the meeting when you have these. And the last 2 months, I noticed as people have been wanting to ask questions about things that went on during that meeting, they weren't able to do that. Now, we had citizens' comments had been last on the list since 1973 when the city was formed. It's 45 years ago. They did that. You ought to see about putting them back to the end, so when people do have a question about what administration or the council has had, then they can come up and ask. And if you don't like what they have to say, you always have the last word.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Next, we'll move on then to our city administrator's report. Mr. Cribb, you have the floor.
It's interesting to look at this report without the 53-acre park being the number one item on here. But the first report, Tanner Foster Creek Trail, we've reached out to CDM Smith to initiate phase 2 of this project. We met with SEDOT already about phase 3, but again, it's our interest to have the completion of the what was originally the full phase 1 trail prior to the opening of the school on August the 18th. Right now, they're meeting with the contractor to make sure cost and quantities and all of that are the same from the phase 1 project, and if that comes in the same, we'll be coming to council soon to complete the section from Weaver's Way to Williams Lane and from the Gardens to Bilo. Village Renaissance Grant, the sidewalk guardrail extension is in on Corner Street. We got a punch list walkthrough with SCDOT and consultants again this Friday. That'll be our second one of those. The guardrail wasn't, the full extension of the guardrail wasn't in the original plan, and they look nice. I mean, they're heavy duty and it's not metal. it's large timber. But the section of going up Corner Street where the ditch is was just as dangerous as the section that we protected. So it was a change order actually on the project, and we had funds available. The costs were coming in less. We had funds available to do this without a budget increase. So that's gone in if you haven't driven down there recently. Flooding, Turkey Creek, Goose Creek, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has initiated the Planning Assistance to State study. We met with Berkeley County Stormwater Capital Advisory Committee to catch them up on what was going on. We've asked the Army Corps of Engineers to find out this Planning Assistance to State study, how much of this study is related to the title study and how much of it is related to stormwater runoff. And we've asked them to attribute a percentage of this study to one or the other, looking at the data. Because the stormwater related part of this study, we can go to the Berkeley County stormwater program that we pay into and use those funds for our match. And we've also asked them that for assistance with in-kind work that can also go toward the match. As you know, we've already committed to the match as a city to get this thing going, but we've gotten a favorable response to be able to get those matching funds through the stormwater program that exists. We will also go to the Stormwater Advisory or the Capital Committee. If this Planning Assistance to States results in a Section 205 study and identifies a project of some kind, those would be the funds we would try to tap into to construct or do whatever project might be identified to help with the flooding. My final project, the downtown revitalization. Currently, the timeline, the plan is to advertise a bid on May 29th with a bid opening on June 26th. We will award the bid, our estimation is July 3rd, so construction will be around August, or as fast as we can get them mobilized. It'll depend on who wins the bid. This Friday, and I think council was contacted directly, Project Big Truck or SAIC, they're doing a groundbreaking at 10 a.m. off Magi Road, if you can be there. Again, that's 200 really good jobs coming to our community and a really nice facility coming to our community. Chief Hours and I are working with the contractors to get access directly from the fire station into the industrial park. And we've seen rendering plans that has that gate and that access. So instead of the fire, one of the warehouses catching on fire and us going all the way around just to kind of get back there, our response time to that area is going to be increased significantly. So they were favorable to that request from the city so we could protect the site. It won't be an open cut through. It'll be an emergency access that we'll have a key to. May 18th, budget will be delivered to council. May 19th, City of Hanahan Night at the River Dogs. Our budget workshop, May 23rd at 6 p.m. The last thing I wanted to mention, at our amphitheater, we're trying to do bigger and bigger things out there. That the Tracy Lawrence concert at the amphitheater on July 1st, there's a lot of buzz about that. It's potentially going to be our, I don't know if there'll be more people than at the festival, but it's liable to be as many or more. So we're getting ready to learn about the capacity of our venue, I have a feeling. And Doug and Randy and them are working with a good promoter over there. We have another shagging event. When is that? Oh wow, following Saturday. And there's a good bit of buzz about that as well. So that's exciting. The more events we have out there, the more we're likely to have in the future. And that's it.
Thank you very much, John. Next on our agenda, we have the mayor and council comments. Are there any comments from the council at this time?
Just a thank you to Christy, all the hard work.
Thank you so very
Here,
much.
here.
Christy.
If we could get her to come back up, would be nice, but,
Oh, that's funny. We also have a young lady here that I just saw walk in that's running for the Berkeley County Clerk, right? Stand up and introduce yourself. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just saw you walk in. So.
Thank you. If I knew I was going to be speaking tonight, I would have dressed better. But
That's okay.
thank you so much. My name is Annette Harmon Bianchi. You can just call me Annette. I am just a regular everyday person, not a politician, but I work for the Clerk of Court office. I am the Chief Deputy Clerk there. I've been working there for 14 years. My background is management and financial. I absolutely love my job. I love everything about it. It's one of the most challenging and interesting jobs there is, and you learn something new almost every single day. So I am running for the Clerk of Court position. It is June the 12th, so please come out and vote. I'd be glad to give anyone some cards and things like that, answer any questions that they have, and I'm having a great time meeting people outside, going door to door, calling people, and it's a lot of wonderful people here. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, you're very welcome, Annette. You got some big shoes to fill with Mary Brown, though.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is executive session. The council needs to go into executive session to discuss two items: the sale of surplus property from the city of Hanahan, tax map number 259-00-00-117, and also to discuss a contractual matter that is related to land acquisition. And as always, there will be no action taken in our executive session, and we will come back and report out. Thank you so very much. We will be back.